913 says Kelsey's a tight end, not a receiver. Well, he lines up at wide
I did
receiver
a whole
as
bit
well.
on this show once.
And
we
the stat is no team has ever had a Super Bowl with its leading receiver, not leading wide receiver. It's literally any. I mean, for the sake of this conversation, it could be a running back. It's not going to be, but it's not saying a leading wide receiver. It is a leading receiver on its team in year 12 or later. No team has ever won a Super Bowl with that. So it doesn't have to. It's not saying tight end. It's any receiver.
Just anybody,
catches a football.
Because I'll be honest with you. There's probably a lot of bad teams over the history of the year that some 35-year-old Mercedes Lewis led them in receiving yardage with like 778, right? Like there's a couple of bad teams in there that had some sad old receiver, but also do 35-year-old receivers, are they still in the league most of the time? Like that's the whole other part of it. Most of the time, they're not in the league anymore. Those guys are gone, washed, cooked, over with, Gold. And if that's the case, then I guess I just don't worry about it. It just feels like such a small sample size. I don't have to care. Meanwhile, yesterday, the Chiefs made yet another move. You and I talked about the fourth tight end part. Turns out they also wanted 4 running backs. I know they're calling one a fullback, but they're lying to us. Yeah. You can call it whatever the hell you want. You clearly got 4 running backs on your roster, and that's fine. The guy you had wanted a week ago, Samaje Perine, who's apparently up for a potential trade opportunity, was just on the free agency thing. Cool. Back up. Good. Samaje Perine. It's hard to hate this move. It's a league minimum deal for a guy who can pass block on third down.
I'll be honest, I love it. You're right. I thought they were going to have to trade for him. They didn't have to even do that. So it's even better because they just got him, I'm assuming, on a vet minimum deal. And it's not official, so we don't know what the corresponding move is yet. They'll figure that out. But I think Samaje Perine is the McKinnon replacement. It's also another veteran. We've talked about the unfortunate situation with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I told you I'm fine with Carson Steele, of course, being the 2, but I want some veteran presence as well to go with Pacheco in case there's other injuries, and I don't know if you can count on Clyde. This solves that a little bit. You want a third down back. And Samaje Perine last year, guys, was the 4th leading running back receiving-wise in football. Think about that. Like that's a huge asset to have in an Andy Reid offense if they're in a 2-minute drill and they got to quickly move down the field, and they want a running back that can stay on the field, help pass protect, but also be a guy that's available to dump off in the flat and have success. Perine fits that. Pacheco slimmed down. He worked with a wide receiver coach. I think we'll see him, but it also changes my feeling on his role in the receiving game. I think Perine is going to take that role fully by the time the season gets going a little, maybe not week 1. But this is a really good signing. As you said, you can't really hate this one when you have a guy that had top 5 receiving yards of all running backs in football a year ago, and you got him essentially off the street.
I think it's Clyde insurance. And that's fine. Like, he might very well just take the job from Clyde, and then when they decide they want to get down to 3 backs instead of 4, then they'll just have to make the decision going based on that. But this is Clyde Edwards-Helaire insurance. If Clyde was healthy, 100%, no questions, good to go, Clyde would be on this team, and Samaje Perine wouldn't have been picked up. But if you've got some, massive expectations that Perine's going to have 1,100 yards from scrimmage, you're crazy. But he did have almost 700 last year because he's good in short yardage, catching passes in the short passing game. He had 455 yards receiving last year. He only had 287 the year before in Cincinnati, but they were using Joe Mixon a lot during that time. This is like the Jerick McKinnon one. He's a perfectly fine 28-year-old running back who was available on the street. This is exactly what we talked about doing to buy yourself Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
And basically half of his catches, so he had 50 catches, as you said, Cody, for 455. Half of those, roughly 23, were for first downs. So third down back, can he get you an extra couple yards on a reception if the receivers are covered down the field? Can he be that safety valve as well? That's why it's great. So I don't know week 1 if he's going to have a huge role or not. He's just jumping into the offense. But he's going to be a factor this year. I think we will be talking about him at some point this season. It comes up with a big-time catch that leads to a 25-yard reception for a touchdown or sets them up. It's a 3rd and long, and he has to dump it off, whether it's a screen or otherwise. This is a really good signing. And Chiefs fans know him pretty well, as you said, not only because he was in Denver a year ago, but when he was with Cincy, there were some big third downs that were frustrating to watch because they would dump it off to Perine and he'd find a way to get the extra 5 yards or whatever it was and convert and move the change for Joe Burrow and company. So
same thing applies, right? You just need another guy because the short passing game should exist again, just like it did last year, but it should be more successful. There's no reason why the running back screen game, the running back short passing game, the 5-yard, and then just go run the extra 3 you need for the first down. All of those should be more in play than they've been for years. Because for the last 2 seasons, people have been standing pretty much on top of Patrick Mahomes, and you can't blame them. They've had no threat to go deep. It wasn't real. No one took it serious. And in truthful, they shouldn't have. It wasn't a good deep passing game. So if they are actually successful at passing it down there to Xavier Worthy, getting the ball down there to Hollywood Brown when he's healthy, well, then we're probably going to be looking at a different version of the offense that could actually utilize running backs again. What a crazy concept. This is the other reason why I'm like, for fantasy purposes, I feel good about Pacheco's season.
See, I think this signing hurts him a little bit in fantasy, though, because he's going to lose out on some of the receiving yards, if we're just talking fantasy football-wise.
Yeah, especially in a PPR league, it probably dings him a little bit. Because the other part of this is like, now what's Carson Steele's role? I mean, I think this works the same way it did with Clyde. It's one of them's going to be an inactive. So Samaje Perine or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they're going to be a game day inactive. There'll be 4 on the roster.
Week 1, I'm guessing Clyde will be active and Perine may not because he just joined, unless there's the health issues going on with Clyde.
But one of those guys won't be in there. But having watched the Chiefs running game with Pacheco for a few years now, it's fairly simple. Let's say they get 10 offensive drives in a season, in a game. 8 of those offensive drives are all Isaiah Pacheco, except for on third down, they sprinkle in the third guy, either Clyde or Samaje Perine. And then 2 of those drives are just full, we're giving Pacheco the old break, and Carson Steele gets those. That's how I actually think they'll utilize the running backs. They've kind of done
that before,
And the same thing. On third down, Carson Steele will come off the field. Perine or Clyde Edwards-Helaire will come in. On third down, Pacheco sometimes will stay on the field. Sometimes they'll give a fresh back, and they'll just kind of mix and match based on that. It seems like a really decent group because Pacheco's one of the 10 best backs in the league based on performance right now anyway. Yeah. So you just need a little help.
And some people are like, the Broncos were never going to trade, Perine to the Chiefs. They didn't even have to worry about it. He got cut, and the Chiefs picked him up right away.
And they like their guys. I think it's they like Estime, right? And they like Jaleel McLaughlin.
McLaughlin's their receiving back in Denver, yeah.
And so they just had some guys that made it easier to move on from a guy like Samaje Perine, which is fine. Good. Their loss is our gain.
We'll get back into the Chiefs throughout the show today here on Cody and Gold. Up next, though, college football for 2 of the local schools begins tonight, for all of them throughout the next couple of days. So what's actually happening? Are we getting our dream scenario of multiple local schools in the college football playoff? We'll tell you if we think that happens next.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Missouri Athletics, 96.5. The Fan, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Does anybody actually like wearing contacts? Does anybody actually like wearing glasses? It was something that I certainly did not like doing, and so I finally made a change that impacted my daily routine and truly has been one of the best decisions ever. That was calling up Dury Vision and scheduling a free consultation and finding out that, well, they could put together a plan for me that doesn't require me to use my contacts or glasses anymore. I haven't had contacts. I haven't put on glasses other than sunglasses for the last 3.5 years, and it's all because of Dury Vision. And maybe you've been hesitant to go through the process. 1, they're going to make it super easy for you. And 2, even if you think you're not eligible for LASIK, you want to schedule that free consultation because I once thought I was not eligible, and it turned out I was because they're the best in Kansas City. They're going to design a plan that fits you, not a one-size-fits-all approach. And right now is a great time to call up Dury Vision because they have their Friends and Family Savings event going on right now where you could save up to $1,000 on LASIK. You want to call them up, 913-491-3330, or go online to duryvision.com.
Look alive, Kansas City! The Crown Royal Rig is headed your way Thursday, September 5th, outside Arrowhead Stadium, where you can pack a purple bag for charity and get a chance to win tickets to Super Bowl 59. Visit crownroyal.com for rules and more info. Please drink responsibly.
You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app. Well, we have something a little different for you this football season. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers, every single one, can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you can watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon game out of market. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment that you can cancel anytime. All you need to do is visit FanDuel.com, use my promo code CDOT to download America's #1 sportsbook app. FanDuel Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will automatically be charged seasonally after free trial. No refunds, terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Can you help with your best bet? Call 1-800-522-4700. Visit KSGamblingHelp.com.
It's Wrangler season out there. Warmer days, cooler nights. Open roads, endless horizons. And you need to be ready in jeans made for the unpredictable. Wrangler, for the ride of life. Shop our newest styles today at Wrangler.com.
Guess what, people? Wendy's has new saucy nugs. You heard me. Wendy's nugs now come in 7 saucy flavors. Buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, spicy ghost pepper. You can literally hear your taste buds after every bite. I'm serious. Listen to mine. Okay, that's just me playing with sound effects, but you got the idea. For a whole new way to nug, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's.
Is your vehicle stopping like it should? Does it squeal or grind when you brake? Don't miss out on summer brake deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Get big deals for days at Target's long weekend sale.
Let's go.
Like 20% off denim, tees, dresses, and shoes for the family. Then round out your barbecue with Doritos and Ruffles party-sized chips. They're on sale 2 for $7. Or get 30% off 12 packs of soda when you buy 3 with Target Circle. And save even more. Find new lower prices on many grocery and household items you love today and every day. Target's long weekend sale ends Monday. Restrictions apply.
I love it.
A Gain Scent Bead story. Jim was at the laundromat when he heard his ear said, "Maraca, senor," but his nose said, "Hey, freshest scent ever." Following his nose, Jim found a man pouring a bottle of Gain Scent Beads into the washer. The scent, the freshness. Jim blurted, "Sir, your scent Maraca smell amazing." Actually, Jim, most noses call them Gain Scent Beads. Try Gain Scent Beads, way fresher than detergent alone.
Do you know what brand sells the most work shoes in America? Skechers. Why? Skechers has the best looking safety toe and slip resistant shoes around. They've got superior quality and simply incredible prices, but many people get them just for the style. So you can enjoy tough, steel-toed protection and slip-resistant soles anywhere, even if you don't need them for work. And since they're Skechers, you know they're going to be comfortable with Skechers' exclusive air-cooled memory foam. Find your new pair of Skechers safety toe and slip-resistant work shoes at a Skechers store, at Skechers.com, or wherever work shoes are sold.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Using the Labor Day weekend to get some work done? We got you. Stop by any store to save on oil, fuel system cleaner, wipers, and more. Looking for an end of summer wash? We've got deals for that too. Don't want to leave the garage? Get same-day delivery on AutoZone.com. Do Labor Day your way by getting something done at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guides in the know and prices so low. It just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly. Be 21.
Fantasy freaks and geeks. What's cracking? It's your boy James Coe back with my brand new project, the Sleeper King Football Podcast. Look, I get it, okay? There's a lot of fantasy pods out there, but we're going to keep this one light. 15 to 20 minutes, 4 to 5 times a week. And man, we are going to pack it with all the info you need. Season long, weekly projections, and of course, sleepers, sleepers, sleepers. Follow and listen to the Sleeper King Football Podcast on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Arvest Bank, believing in the power of serving others.
Arvest Bank believes in the power of serving others. That's why we're committed to supporting those who serve our communities. We believe that all communities deserve a financial partner who cares. Arvest, we believe.
Just getting started here on a Thursday. Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. We'll get right back into the Chiefs, in particular this defense, and the expectation is the word regression, fair or not, with them. You guys can always hit us up on the 96.5 The Fan, Jay Southland Tow Service text line, 913-586-7910. 965. But college football is here, man. It's going to be a great college football weekend. There's some
Can't
big
wait.
games for the locals, right? It's kind of a tune-up opportunity. Tonight, you've got Missouri, of course, in action out in Columbia. They're taking on Murray State, where the Tigers are 47.5-point favorites. You got the Kansas Jayhawks at Children's Mercy Park tonight. Remember, they're playing their first 2 home games there. They're taking on Lindenwood, where they're 44.5-point favorites. And then this weekend in Manhattan, it'll be Kansas State Wildcats, 37.5-point favorites against UT Martin. I have no interest
Don't think those are going to be very good games. Are you going to go to the Kansas game?
I got multiple things tonight, so no, I will not be at that one tonight. I have no interest in neither do you guys in actually breaking down anything with Murray State or Lindenwood or UT Martin. But I want to talk bigger picture with all three. We've acknowledged that all three of these schools have a path and that you can make a realistic case for them to make the college football playoff in the expanded field. Their win totals are higher for all three than we've seen before. Missouri over 9.5, over unders where it's set. Kansas over under 8.5. K-State over under 9.5. Let's start with the Missouri Tigers, who will take on Murray State tonight. They're the team that should have the highest expectation. They do.
They got the best quarterback, one of the best players in the country in Luther Burden. They've had more recent success as far as going deep into these seasons. They would have been in the college football playoff if it existed last year. Do we agree with that?
Yes. They're 18-1 to win the SEC. They're plus 175 to make the playoffs. They have the best odds of any of the three locals, and they should. I think Missouri is the best of the three. I don't think it's much of a debate in terms of getting into the playoff, right? That is going to be whether or not in the SEC in that schedule they can make it through without having more than the 2 losses. That's what it's going to come down to. And I personally believe that they will be undefeated when they go to Tuscaloosa. And if that happens, that means they would not have skipped a beat against A&M, and they could afford to lose to an Alabama or an Oklahoma. They have a softer, by SEC standards, a softer schedule than they're probably going to have.
By SEC standards, baby soft.
It's going to be softer than they'll probably have for a decade, just based on the way the set, no divisions and all that. So Missouri, to me, is making the college football playoff. I bet that a long time ago, and I think it's warranted to have the hype. I don't know if they cover, I said, the 47.5 this weekend. That doesn't really matter. But I think Eli Drinkwitz gets this team to the college football playoff.
Okay, so if we're making predictions, I think it is kind of hard to assume it'd be the other way around. Other than I'll say this. For the same reasons, it's hard to shake things for other loser franchises. This is not, take it easy, Missouri fans, I get it. But you know that you're a cursed university, that it never goes your way. So when things look the rosiest, it is hard for me to not be like, this is all going to fall apart horribly. Because I've watched Missouri for a long time finally get their hopes up, only to have them finish like 13th somehow in the college football playoff rankings and not be like the 3rd or the 4th team out of the SEC. I think they're a little too good. I really do. And this is one of those jobs where I think at the end of the year, you're either going to feel even more confident about Missouri's decision to go with Drinkwitz and keep giving him a contract extension, or you're going to start asking yourself the question, which is, how can you recruit this well, bring this many teams in, have this good of a schedule, even a down Alabama year, right? You didn't even get Alabama when they're the number 1 team in the country when you have to go to Tuscaloosa. So your toughest game is actually less tough than it would normally be. And so if you don't go to the college football playoff this year, it's a massive disappointment. It just is. You should be there.
That's where the
There's
bar's
no
at.
reason.
That's where the bar's
SEC, it's not a lost season, but you have failed in your goal because that's got to be your only goal. After that, it's just, wins are wins, whatever.
Of course, yeah, you get
to the playoff.
Get in the dance, and it's a fair bar.
I
that
think
has
they'll
been
get
set.
there.
They've set the bar themselves, to their credit, to Eli Drinkwitz's credit, right? He has made that the bar this year by the talent and the type of season they had a year ago.
There's a new college football, 249 miles of college football podcast out today, and
Perfect.
We go through predictions for my playoff and all that stuff. I think Missouri goes 11-1, and I think they're in. It's interesting though when you look at the schedule. The way that I see it panning out, them losing 2 games almost keeps them out of the playoff. I think they almost have to go 11-1.
I don't
think that's 2 losses too,
10
right?
and
That's
2.
No, the 2
Alabama
losses.
I understand that, but I think the Big Ten gets 3. I think the ACC gets 2. I think Notre Dame makes the playoff, and then you got the Group of 5 spot. There's 4 spots for the SEC. So then you're competing. It's Georgia, Texas, maybe Alabama, maybe Ole Miss, maybe A&M, maybe Missouri.
Not a big Texas guy.
I think Texas is making it, but I don't think they're going to be seated as high as some others do, at least.
So who do you have? Just curious, real quick. We were going through the schedule. We all agree it's a softer schedule by SEC standards. The big games on the schedule are A&M, Oklahoma, and Alabama. Do you have them losing both Alabama, Oklahoma games? You have them losing A&M. Where's the loss?
I'm losing to A&M.
That's the one loss.
Yep.
And then they lose to A&M, but beat Bama and beat Oklahoma. That'll definitely get you in the college football playoff if that actually plays out.
If you just beat one of those two,
and Alabama
and
someone says Missouri's weaker schedule could be why they missed the playoff.
Exactly.
It could. I mean, but it also requires these other teams living up to their hype. Like to Cody's point about Texas, like, yeah, if Texas is what some people think they are, then it's problematic. But if Missouri loses 2 and Texas isn't what we think they are, and Ole Miss isn't, then they'll be fine still.
Well, if you look at this, so if they go 10-2 and Ole Miss goes 10-2 and Texas goes 10-2, Ole Miss and Texas are getting in over them because the schedule is way harder for them.
I agree. I agree.
That's where them. I don't know. Like
depending on the losses,
the leeway that they have for error, depending on the losses, because I don't have Alabama making the playoff. I don't have A&M making the playoff. If they lose to Alabama and A&M, they don't have one win that says, "Here's my signature win, committee."
No, but the committee loves S. Are you kidding me though? They kept out a undefeated team last year. If you're 10-2 in the SEC, they will not care about your schedule. I am convinced anybody could go 10-2 in the SEC and will be in the college football playoff 100% of the time.
But as we did learn last year, you bring up the undefeated. As we learned, though, also with all this, the caveat, if somebody's starting quarterback gets hurt in the last game of the season, then it changes
Florida
everything.
State was in the ACC, so I think along with that same point, Clemson plays Georgia week 1. If they lose 2 games and one of them is to Georgia, Missouri never played Georgia, so Clemson technically, if they have the same record as Missouri, has a better resume than Missouri does because they'll have played Notre Dame, they'll have played Florida State. Missouri can't say they played anybody, at least right now on paper, other than Alabama.
All right, let's get to the other game tonight. As we mentioned, 2 of the locals in action tonight. Kansas taking on Lindenwood, 44.5-point favorites. Kansas, they haven't had expectations like this really ever. We all know that even the Orange Bowl year, nobody was thinking it was going to be that special of a season in 2008. This year, I hate to just make it so simple, but I think it is for Kansas. If you have them winning 9 or more games, you think Jalen Daniels is playing in 9 or more games, as in he is staying healthy. It is that simple. It really, and it's a big question, and it's a fair question. How's the back hold up? Tonight, I think he'll play maybe 1 drive in the third quarter if the game's going the way I think it's going to go. And then they need Chris Ballard's son, Cole Ballard, to play a lot. Tonight. They do.
A ton.
They need him to play a lot because of the risk that exists of Jalen Daniels getting injured.
I'm not even kidding. I think the number of wins Kansas has this year is directly lined up to the number of games Jalen Daniels plays. As in, if he only plays 7 games, they're a 7-win team. If they play 8, he's an 8-win team. If he plays 12, they might be a 12-win team. He's good for 1 win every single time he's on the actual football field. Because that's the way it's been. If he plays all 4 quarters over the last year and a half, they win a football game. Plain and simple. They win all the games that Jalen Daniels pretty much starts and plays the entire game. When he's hurt, they're just not as good. And they had a better backup last year. So those losses are going to come quicker and faster.
Let me ask you this. Over under 7.5 games started for Jalen Daniels this year.
7.5 over.
If I had 8.5, would you still take the over?
No.
So that's the number. Okay,
That's
so
it.
over under 8.5 is the number.
7.5, I think I would take the over. 8.5.
Actually, I'll take over 8.5.
Look, I hope nobody should be rooting for anybody to get hurt.
I hope he plays every game.
I hope he plays every game, but there is the fair conversation to be had. And, I think it was Leipold joked that early in camp, compare a little bit to load management like in the NBA, it's how they went through fall camp. I'm concerned about it for sure. I'm absolutely concerned about his health. I think for these first couple games, it'll be interesting to see how much they use him if they have a healthy lead, if they're fortunate enough to be in that spot against Lindenwood and Illinois and UNLV, and I hope they are. If that's the case, how much does he play these full games or not? Because knowing of the grind of the Big 12 season and how his back has been a problem. In terms of their win total, I will take the over 8.5. To me, they're a 9-win football team. I think that's where they're at. I have them as a 9-win team this year.
Well, I just told you I didn't think he'd play 9 games, so I take the under on that.
Okay, yeah.
For betting purposes, but that's all Jalen Daniels health related. It's not my confidence in the rest of the team. It's my confidence in one player's ability to be on a football field. It almost their entire season boils down to that because I think they got a lot of talent in other areas that they should be a 9 or 10 win football team. honestly, because if he plays a majority of the game, I think they're probably a 10 or 11 win football team. I think they could win the Big 12
I
if
think
Jalen Daniels plays every single
I think it
game.
can be as simple as that. One interesting thing in the red zone last year, they were like 100 and they were dead last in red zone points allowed, dead last in the country.
Ooh.
Defensively, they had some hiccups, and they are going to have to figure some stuff out if they want to
Positive
really,
regression, though. We talk about that all the time. You know?
if they really want to be that team. I have them going 8-4. I think that there's a couple losses in there, maybe a surprising one, but it's too hard to say, yeah, Jalen Daniels is going to play all the games, because you can make a case, yeah, they're going to go undefeated, or it's crazy how reliant it is on his health.
It is plus money on the over 8.5, by the way, plus 138. So the under is where more of the money has been coming in on for the most part for the Jayhawks tonight. By the way, you mentioned the defense because of that, and because what we just said about Ballard probably playing a lot, but in a good way, they need him to play this evening. I do like the over 59 in tonight's game. All right, let's get to the game this weekend. Kansas State, their total over under 9.5. It's the same number as Missouri. It's minus 144 to the under. Avery Johnson, the hype is all there. We're going to find out if he lives up to it, because everything you hear out of Manhattan, this kid's the real deal. He's the real deal. We still haven't seen a ton of games as a starter in the league. I think Kansas State is also a 9-win team, so I'll take the under. So I think they're both 9-win teams. And ultimately, the Sunflower Showdown will decide who gets to play Utah, in my opinion, in the Big 12 title game in Dallas.
How Drew answers this is going to dictate whether or not K-State fans let him cheer for their team for another year. So think carefully, Drew, before you answer.
No, I've already got it predicted. I think I think they'll have an opinion.
I think K-State wins the Big 12.
Okay, there you go.
That's who I think wins the Big 12. Put it on paper, whatever.
Yeah.
That's a team. They have done a lot of winning under Kleiman. They went to the Big 12 championship 2 years ago. They were 9-4 last year, so they fell short of expectations, I guess, a little, and were still a 9-win team. And I mean, I've watched quite a bit of K-State football because we're here local. If Avery Johnson is what he's supposed to be, he's an upgrade. He's a definitive
of course.
upgrade.
I mean, I think he's going to be for sure.
And I understand that like their quarterback from last year was good enough that he's now starting in another power conference in the Big Ten, making real plays, right?
He is, and I mean, look,
so
he's
it's,
going to be
it's not
handing
like he's trash.
And he'll be handing the ball off a lot to one of the best running backs in the country.
Sure,
yeah.
but they were still good enough with letting him start for a team that has real aspirations this year. So it's not like he was a bad quarterback. I just think Avery Johnson is enough for the win. And I think that if you get to 10 or 11 wins, I don't think it's going to take undefeated. I'm a little more down on Utah than I was even a couple of months ago after talking to some people, because they have the same unknown at quarterback that K-State does, except for their upside's less good with their
except
quarterback.
their defense can win them games.
Yeah, it can.
You know, that's the question.
But has anyone ever won the Big 12 just being like a defensive bully?
Well, Utah's defense is one of the better defense we've seen in a while in the Big 12, I would argue. Look, I think it's a fair point. My only thing, and the reason why I don't have them, ultimately getting to 10 or 11 wins is I think K-State's schedule is really tough. Drew, where are you at?
It's a lot tougher than Kansas is. I think there's one game to watch. It's not even a conference game. I guess Arizona's a non-conference game as well, but Tulane on the road, second week of the season. It's a tough game on the road. A little bit of a sneaker game because people might be looking to Arizona. I think K-State are going to play against Iowa State in the final game of the regular season. Iowa State's going to beat K-State to get into the Big 12 title
Well, you
game.
have Iowa State making some Big 12 title game.
Hang on. K-State will have 11 wins at that time. So K-State, it's going to be back-to-back Iowa State, Kansas State weeks. Iowa State beats K-State to get into the Big 12 title game. K-State gets revenge and wins the Big 12 against Iowa State
so you have them
in Dallas.